And listen, yesterday I was sitting down with my team. I said, could you give me the list of all the clients that I'm coaching and all the clients that where their contracts have expired, and what can I do to come back and continue working with them? And I thought to myself, actually, I'm going to filter that. I'm going to filter the clients that I enjoyed working with, two, that are open-minded, because those are the clients, and those are the leaders who view themselves as eternal students of leadership. But they're eternal students. However, there's a difference between an eternal student who's always learning and never performing,
that's
and never
another
delivering, versus an eternal student who's always learning to make sure that they evolve and they become a better version of themselves. You got these leaders who have 15 certificates hanging behind them, and then you sit with them. Half of those competencies are not being displayed when you see them dealing with their team and their staff, and you think to yourself, that's the ultimate way to stab yourself in the foot and lose your credibility by claiming you are somebody.
So what you were saying that
not really
is, I would absolutely agree with you, and I have this one case in the back of my head. There's even certain leaders that are incredibly well read, and if you say something to them, right, they'll say, I know where that's from such and such book from this and this author. And then they'll even sometimes be in a position. I've actually had this one particular person, I think, said, yeah, but you did it wrong. The sequence is such and such and such, which is, sometimes if we're talking about processes that are derived from certain principles, you can do one way or the other. But I always kind of smile because I'm like, you know what, you're so incredibly well read and you can quote back to me where my statements are coming from, but you don't understand them. There's not a cognitive link to and you're not practicing them. And even worse, a colleague of mine was recently in a seminar, and he said, no matter what concept he presented, they go, we've heard that before, it doesn't work, move on. Right?
Yeah.
So it's one thing to be open to knowledge. It's another thing to integrate it, to understand it, right?
Exactly. And I find a lot of leaders, especially, and we're talking about leaders at the top.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of challenges here. First of all, it's extremely lonely at the top.
Yes, it is.
And I'm talking at the very, very top.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two is that a lot of leaders develop a certain animosity towards their teams. Do you know why? Because all they hear is yes, yes, sir, yes, yes, ma'am. And there's a lot of yes people. So then I then look down at my team when my team is just giving me the yes. So then third, I become thirsty for someone to say, and I'm talking about good leaders here, thirsty for someone to tell me, hey, listen, boss, what you're telling me right now is a bunch of BS. All right, so, call me out.
Yeah.
And nobody calls me out. And if I want to be called out, I'm talking about, again, I'm putting myself in some of those, myself in the shoes of some of those leaders. If somebody calls me out correctly, then I go, all right, that's the kind of person that I want. But again, at the end of the day, do I allow for such environment to happen? And do I just complain about it and say, nobody's calling me out? Well, you need to be the kind of leader that creates that environment where people can call you out without your ego being injured, and you have to keep it in check.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And fourth is there's not enough time for them to work on themselves in a structured, classical kind of sense that I go and attend these wonderful workshops and maybe hire a coach, which is sometimes a challenge in itself to hire the right coach. So it is a catch-22 situation here. So and this is why we're talking about it today. So what's the solution? How do I make sure that I'm a great leader? And what's the best way to keep my fingers on the pulse of my organization and to keep myself in check, keep a reality check for myself, and making sure that my team is performing at above par?
Yeah.
What are those steps? What are those stages I have to be aware of? And that's what I usually deliver to all of my leaders, whether it's on one-on-one or in coaching sessions or in my master classes, which the model that we discussed earlier.
What you're referring to is a huge cornerstone of leadership principles, and it kind of is based on what what style of leadership is live from the top? Is it kind of an autocratic leadership where all decisions and all ideas have to come from you? Those don't principally work because it's impossible to know everything at the top. The more you are at the top, the less you know. And I don't mean this disrespectfully, but that's just a fact that, if you can't rely on the wisdom of your subject matter experts, you've got an issue.